Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MT Geo Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is the Core 2019 set review for Blue. So we've done white, let's get into blue here with Aether Tunnel, a 2-mana enchantment aura. Enchant creature, enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked. This might be in a nice slot here for the blue-red Is It Auras list, maybe? I don't know if it'll be able to replace Curious Obsession, that card is ridiculous. But in Draft and Seal, this card is just okay, not amazing, not terrible. But, you know, it's kind of in the mid-range here, where it can be a great card to end out a match if you're in blue. It can also be a great way to pump and just get in some extra damage in the early game, too, if you're not afraid of early game removal. So I think Aether Tunnel's fine for Draft and Sealed, and might see some fringe standard tabletop play. Moving up here, we have a card that I feel like a lot of people have seen and kind of want again in a draft format here. This is Anticipate, a 2-mana instant. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So Anticipate is a card that will likely see standard play once again. Just a super good card for us, being able to sift through the top 3 cards and then pick one, put it into our hand, and the rest on the bottom of the library. So very, very nice. Super useful in a control deck, super useful in a combo heavy style deck. Probably going to be good in like a mill deck, honestly, in standard. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to the most here for Anticipate. For Draft and Sealed, it's just alright. Just you know, a decent card to filter. Very good, especially when you have just 40 cards in a deck list here. Looking at the top 3 is way more impactful in the Draft and Sealed format than it is in standard here. But either way, going to see a lot of heavy play. Moving up here, we have Avian Mage, a card here from, I believe, maybe it was from omens. It looks like it feels like it's from omens. I think this card is actually a new card here though. 3-mana 2/2 flyer. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Avian Mage gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It's a bird wizard, so it could see a like red-blue wizards deck. It is like a cool prowess trigger here. Weird that prowess isn't actually just on this card, but I think the reason for that is because they want to make sure that the core sets are a lot more easy to digest for some people or for newer players. So that's why this is the way it is. It's also not non-creature; it's just instant sorcerer, that kind of thing. Super good card overall. I think I like this card a lot in the blue-red wizards list. Wizards list. And Draft and Steel, this card is going to be a house. A 3-mana 2/2 flyer is amazing. Making it a 3/3 or 4/4 with our spells in our hand is ridiculous. A draft bomb house at common slot. Moving up here, we have Avian Pioneer. Love the art on this. Looks kind of like a Kaladesh or Aether Revolt's kind of knockoff card though. 3-mana 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Interesting card. Won't see any kind of standard play, but we'll see probably Draft and Sealed play as a great way to kind of go wide for just 3 mana. So all of these 3-mana 2/2s that make 1/1s, always good in Draft and Sealed, and this is probably no exception here, especially in blue. I think we had one with the Shepherd, however you want to pronounce it, the fungi in the actual Dominaria set. So I think here, Avian Pioneer is just fine in Draft and Sealed, and we'll see a ton of good, like decent play. Moving up here, we have Bone to Ash. Haven't seen this in a while. A 4-mana instant, counter target creature spell, draw a card. Always a decent card in Draft and Sealed. Not very good in Standard. We have Unwind right now, which I feel like probably might see a lot more play if our like meta gets more tribalistic, thanks to rotation, thanks to Kaladesh and Aether Revolt and Hour and Omniscience being out of the format once rotation happens. I think we'll probably see more Unwinds actually from Dominaria. But Bone to Ash is fine for Draft and Sealed if you want to have a good counter spell. However, I always kind of pick counter spells low when I'm in Draft and Sealed unless I have a giant bomb at the rare slot that I can use to kind of finish up a game by itself. But okay, having a card draw mechanic on top of a counter spell is always decent in Draft and Sealed. Moving up here, we have Cancel. Nice. Some more cancel or some more control magic here. 3-mana counter target spell at instant speed. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's in the core set, so hopefully from now on we'll get like Essence Scatter, Cancel, Bone Dash, that kind of thing always in core sets, and that way they're not kind of gumming up space or design space in other formats or other sets moving forward. Good card for you know, Standard if you want to get into that after Disallow rotates out. And just an okay card in Draft and Sealed. Again, counters are not really that impactful in Draft and Sealed. We may see that. We do have a ton of counters in the actual blue slot here, though, for Draft and Sealed, so we'll see what happens. Moving up here, we have Departed Deckhand, a 2-mana 2/2 creature spirit pirate. When it becomes target of a spell, sacrifice it. Departed Deckhand can't be blocked except by spirits. You can pay for another target creature you control can't be blocked this turn except by spirits. Interesting mechanic, very narrow field of focus. I do like it that it's a pirate, so it might see play somewhere in a weird pirate list, like a Grixis pirate list. in standard. As far as draft and sealed, it's okay. Has a weird like phantasmal image style like ability here where if it becomes target of a spell, sack it, so you can't like put anything on it to make it more powerful, but it can make other things unblockable for like a turn or two, which is nice. So a very heavy removal target for sure, and a nice tempo target to put into a draft and seal deck for sure as well. So I think this is going to be maybe a mid to low pick, unless you're just a super synergistic deck with this style of card here. Moving on here, we have Disperse, a 2-mana instant. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Ah, yes, the worst unsummon. It's okay. This card's fine. Going to see a lot of play in draft and seal. Basically a time walk, putting your opponent behind basically a turn on whatever bomb they decided to play. Besides that, though, I'm not going to see any kind of standard play. Just draft and seal. It's just good old, kind of like just the good old nice bread and butter of draft and seal as far as how blue operates in that format. Moving up here, we have Divination. Wasn't this like just reprinted in Dominaria? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was Ravels. I think it was Dominaria. 3-mana sword for you, draw 2 cards. Fine, it's very useful. Won't see any kind of standard play. We'll see some draft and sealed play because drawing 2 cards for 3 mana in draft and sealed, not too bad. Again, 40 cards in your deck as far as minimum. So drawing 2 cards in that format is a lot more impactful than drawing 2 cards in standard format. Moving up here, we have Gin of Wishes. Haven't seen this in a while either. This is a 5-mana 4/4 flyer. Enters the battlefield with 3 wish counters on it. You can pay for remove a wish counter from the Gin of Wishes. Reveal the top card of your library. You may play that card without paying its mana cost if you don't exile it. So very interesting card. A great bomb for you in draft and sealed. Not going to see any kind of standard play. This is just a weird card that just doesn't really see that kind of standard or that kind of play in standard. We'll see play in draft and sealed though if you get it as your bomb. A 5-mana 4/4 flyer. That's perfect as far as a top end bomb for blue. The ability on it, not bad, but not great either. That's really the kind of the thing that makes it a little awkward for you to kind of get into. So if you can line stuff up on the top of your library, that's great. If not, then Gin of Wishes might get you an amazing card off the top, or it might just whiff a land and do nothing. So a 5-mana 4/4 flyer is perfect though as a top end bomb for draft and seal. Moving up here, we have Dwindle. Nice, a 3-mana enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets -6, -0, and then when enchanted creature blocks, destroy it. Very, very good card against an opponent who has a lot of really big attackers, basically making them walls, and as soon as they block, they die. So very useful for us. Love the art here also, and flavor text. The collection didn't have room to expand, so the wizard improvised a solution. Basically shrinking down a giant like hound creature into a little box like that. So love this card. I think it's very useful in draft and sealed for the blue strategy. Not going to see any kind of play for like the standard strategy unless we want to put this into a weird mill fog style deck. So maybe there's something there for that. But for like draft and sealed, this card is perfect for removal in blue. Moving on here, we have Essence Scatter. I told you guys it would be reprinted. Essence Scatter, 2-mana instant, counter target creature spell. Again, another counter spell in the actual format here. So there might actually be a control deck in draft and sealed that might actually come together and be very, very powerful. As far as Essence Scatter being in the standard format, it's going to get played. Of course, it's going to be sideboarded into a ton. So Essence Scatter is always a good card. Counter target creature spell, very, very useful in every format possible. Going to see a lot of play. I'm glad it's getting reprinted here and not in other sets, so it doesn't gum up their design philosophies. Moving on here, we have Exclusion Mage, a 3-mana 2/2 creature human wizard. When Exclusion Mage enters a battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So for 3 mana, this is actually not bad at all. I believe there was a card in Rivals of Ixalan that was a 4-mana 3/2 with Raid that had this ability. So a 3-mana 2/2 is perfect. Just getting a 3-mana 2/2 on the battlefield and being able to bounce something on the other side of the field, super useful. Love the art on this card as well. I think the art is really interesting. Though her Mohawk thing kind of makes it look like she has a part down the middle here. Like it's like nothing here, but it's like the hair's here, I don't know, it might just be me looking at the art, but it feels like there's no hair here, but there's hair here. So not sure. Would love a front shot of this person's face. It could just also be that the pixelation is making it look weird as well. Either way, this is a good card for draft and sealed to bounce something on your opponent's side of the field. Not going to see any kind of play, I feel like, in standard, although it is a wizard, so it could be in a weird red-blue wizards deck, so we'll see on that for sure. But let's move on to the next card here. It is Frilled Sea Serpent. I feel like this is a reprint? I think it is. A 6-mana 4/6 Serpent. You can pay 7. Frilled Sea Serpent can't be blocked this turn. It's a common, so it's going to be fine. A top-end bomb for blue is okay. 4/6 is pretty decent. Making it unblockable for 7 mana, so that's 1 extra that it costs to cast it. I think it's fine. I think it's very, very useful if you just need a top-end bomb in your deck list in Draft and Sealed. But yeah, this is not going to see any kind of play besides those particular formats. Moving on here, we have Gearsmith Prodigy, a 1 blue mana 1/2. Gearsmith Prodigy gets +1/+0 as long as you control an artifact. So a 1 mana 2/2 if you control an artifact. So this is an interesting card. Makes me think there might be a weird, like, aggressive artifact deck, like a blue-red or like a blue-white deck out there in Standard somewhere, thanks to Prodigy, something like this. As far as Draft and Seal, if you get into artifacts, this card is good. If you don't, it's just a 1 mana 1/2, which isn't terrible, but it's not amazing, and it can kind of just do nothing. It can just be a blocker for you for 1 mana, and you probably would board this out either way. So I don't think it's a very high pickable card in Draft and Seal. But if you get into a lot of artifacts and you see this guy, you might want to get into it. Or girl, I think it's a girl. You might want to get into it for sure. Moving on here, we have Ghost Form, a 2 mana sorcery. Up to 2 target creatures can't be blocked this turn. This card is amazing in Draft and Sealed. This is a card where you're going to end the game and just, you know, get in for the GG here. Making 2 of your creatures not be able to be blocked is amazing. You're going to always pick this card if you're into a very aggressive strategy with blue. This card is almost a card you almost want to kind of splash if you can, if you have some good bombs in blue. Splash into blue as your 3rd color or 2nd color, and just use Ghost Form. Ghost Form is ridiculous. A 2 mana, make 2 creatures unblockable. I'll take that all day long. But yeah, not going to see any kind of standard play whatsoever. Just a little too slow for my liking there. Next up here for us, we have Horizon Scholar. Love the art on this one. A 6 mana 4/4 flyer. That alone makes it pretty much a Draft and Sealed playable. But when it enters the battlefield, it scries 2, which is even better for us. So again, a really great uncommon for us in the Draft and Sealed format. Not going to see any kind of standard play, but you know, useful nonetheless as a great attacker for your side of the field. It is 6 mana though, so very expensive, but still totally worth it. Moving up here, we have Metamorphosis Alteration, a 2 mana enchantment aura. Enchant creature as Metamorphosis Alteration. Metamorphic, not Metamorphosis. Metamorphic Alteration. There we go. There we go. Before you comment that I said it wrong, I already corrected myself. There you go. Enters the battlefield, choose a creature. Enchanted creature is a copy of the chosen creature. Interesting. I really like this card a lot as far as if our opponent has a giant bomb on their side of the field, we just copy that. Or if we have a giant bomb, we get to copy our giant bomb again. Super cool for that as far as in a Draft and Sealed format. I'm not really sure this card will see any kind of play outside of that. Maybe like in a quirky like Brawl deck or a Commander deck. But besides that, this card is interesting. Rare slot is always strange whenever you see cards like this where it's like, it kind of does stuff, but it doesn't at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Interesting card nonetheless though, and I feel like it'll probably see home in a Brawl or Commander deck. Moving on here, we have Mirror Image, a 3 mana 0/0 shapeshifter. You may have Mirror Image enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature you control. Another kind of copy ability here. I like this one a lot better because it's a creature, so it comes in and becomes whatever we want it to be. And I like this a lot, especially in Draft and Sealed if our opponent has a bomb or if we have a bomb. Again, same situation. It's just that, you know, this isn't attached to something else. It just becomes that thing. So a lot easier for us to get a hold on, especially in like the particular Draft and Sealed formats. Standard, probably not going to see any kind of play. There may be a deck for this in Brawl somewhere, but as is, it's just all right. Moving on here, we have Mistcaller. This is a card that might see some modern play, honestly. A 1 blue mana 1/1. Sacrifice Mistcaller until end of turn. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. Super interesting card here. Really like this card a lot. Honestly, for modern, this card I'm not sure we'll see any kind of play in Standard. It's so strange. Like if there's some like cheating out like abilities right now in Standard that happens like once rotation happens, this card might be more important. But as is right now, it's just kind of interesting and a cool like cyber tech against any kind of like cheating out creatures in modern and even in Commander for a Merfolk deck or something like that if you want to go into a tribal deck for Merfolk or Brawl. But I do think in Draft and Seal this card is kind of bad, honestly. It's kind of a card that just exists and you kind of want to not pick it as your rare. So if you're playing competitive Draft and Seal, you might honestly want to pass this as your rare. 1 mana 1/1 is not good. And having its ability be so specific like that in a format where it's not really like going to do anything, probably not good either. So good for modern, probably. We'll see what happens in Standard. Terrible in Draft and Sealed. Moving on here, we have Mystic Archaeologist, a 2 mana 2/1. You can pay 5 and draw 2 cards. I like this card a ton here. I really think this card is going to probably be a showstopper in some format. Probably Brawler Commander, but in like Draft and Sealed, this card could be a total powerhouse if opponent does not prioritize removing this card early in the game. So play this on like turn 3 or 4. If you don't have any cards in hand, just start drawing cards with the Archaeologist, and you can do that without tapping it, without doing anything. You can do it on their instep. It's amazing. I like this card a ton, especially since we have so much control in the format. Draft and Sealed, I feel like this will be in an amazing control deck once we see the pieces kind of come together. As far as Standard goes, this is kind of not what you want to do in Standard, but for slower formats like Brawl, Commander, Draft and Sealed, this is definitely something you want to kind of get into. Moving on up here, we have Omen Speaker, a card we haven't seen in a while, a 2-mana 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Super good card for us, a 1-mana, or a 2-mana 1/3, 3 toughness being the best for us for 2 mana in Draft and Sealed, and being able to scry 2 with this card is also super good. So again, a lot of stuff in here where it feels like blue might actually be pretty good with a control deck in Draft and Sealed. As far as Standard goes, not going to see any kind of play, but it might see play in a Brawl deck for sure. Moving up here, we have Omniscience. Wow, I haven't seen this in a while either. This is a 10 mana enchantment. You may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. This has Brawl and Commander written all over it. In Draft and Sealed, you're not going to see this that often, so I wouldn't really worry about it that much since it is a mythic. In Standard, there might be a weird like kitchen table or saffron olive brew that I don't see just yet. That I don't see just yet with this card. But I do think either way, this card is super flavorful. This card is all about kitchen table magic, and yeah, definitely put it into your Brawl and Commander deck for sure. Moving up here, we have One with a Machine, a 4-mana sorcery. Draw cards equal to the highest converted mana cost among artifacts you control. Interesting card here. This card might be like into a weird like metallic. This is an interesting card here. I'm not really excited about it as far as like Standard, maybe Modern. I'm not really like too excited about that either, honestly. 4 mana draw, maybe possible 4-5 cards for 4 mana isn't terrible, but isn't that great either. So it's no reverse engineer right now before rotation, and after rotation it might replace reverse engineer as far as like being in an artifact style deck. But you know, being a rare slot here for us in Draft and Sealed, we're never really going to see it, and if we do, we're just going to probably pass it because you really need to get into a lot of really good artifacts for this thing to be effective. Next up for us, we have Patient Rebuilding, a 5-mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, a target opponent puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Then you draw a card for each land card put into their graveyard this way. So there's a lot of really strange mill cards right now in Core Set 2019. I'm loving it for sure. I can't wait to kind of build a mill deck. I think this card is super interesting. It's a little expensive for 5 mana, but I think in a blue-green like fog style mill deck, this card might see a home or maybe see some sideboard play. Either way, this card is super fun, super flavorful. We'll definitely see a lot of kitchen table play. If you get this as your rare in Draft and Sealed, you might want to pass it unless you want to try and be that one person that builds the mill deck in Draft and Sealed, since there are enough mill pieces right now in the complete set here. As far as Standard, again, might just be a weird like main board 1 or 2 of, or maybe even a sideboard card in a weird fog mill deck. But besides that, might be a Brawl and Commander all-star. You never know. Let's move on here. We have Psychic Corrosion, another mill card here, a 3-mana enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. So this card, along with the Patient Rebuilding, a possible 6 cards if we hit 2 lands, something like that, or 4 cards, not 6, 4 cards if we hit 2 lands. Very interesting. I like this card a lot for that particular interaction. As far as this card being good in like Standard, I think this is definitely a card that's replacing like Fraying Sanity, things like that. From Amonkhet for the Standard mill deck. For Draft and Seal, this card could be really good if you want to get into a mill deck for Draft and Seal. If you get into a lot of these, this card is amazing. Basically, Sphinx's Tutelage, not exactly the same because it is 3 mana here, but I do like it a lot. I think that the mill deck will definitely be coming back as a powerful force in Standard in the near future, though, for this card. Moving up here, we have Sign Master Thopters. They're bringing or keeping that legendary border here. I like it a lot. 3 mana 1/4. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. You can pay 2, sacrifice 2 artifacts, and draw a card. This card is super good in the Aetherflux Reservoir deck right now. I feel like this card basically replaces Karn in the list that I put up like not even a week ago, I feel like. Sai is super powerful in that deck. I feel like this card is also going to see a ton of play in a powerful like red-blue artifact list in Standard at the moment. As far as Draft and Sealed, if you get into a lot of artifacts, this card is amazing. If you don't, this card is terrible as your rare. Either way, though, a 3 mana 1/4 isn't bad as a blocker, but you know, you can also draw cards with the artifacts as well, but you have to sack them too. So interesting card in Draft and Sealed. Probably not going to see any kind of play there, but in Standard, this card is amazing in the Aetherflux Reservoir deck and will be until rotation. After that, though, we'll kind of see what Ravnica kind of gives us with our artifacts. Moving up here, we have a Salvager of Secrets, a 5-mana 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. When he enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. This is an interesting card. Definitely at the common slot. I wish it was like maybe a 3/3 instead of a 2/2. Paying 5 mana just to do one thing here and getting a 2/2 is not like, I don't know, don't really like this at all. I think it would be a little bit better if it was a 3/3 or even a 3/4 or a 1/4, even a 1/4 probably for me. Just a 2/2 body here isn't that great, but getting the ability to get a instant or sorcery back from the graveyard is nice. I think this might be a 1 or 2 of if you're into a control deck in Draft and Sealed, but this won't see any kind of play outside of Draft or Sealed. Moving up here, we have Scholar of Stars. Love the art on this card. A 4-mana 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, if you control an artifact, draw a card. So again, another card where if we have a lot of artifacts into our Draft and Sealed pool, it kind of pays off big time here. Besides that, it's a 3/2 for 4 mana, which isn't terrible. It's not great though. But again, if you get into a lot of artifacts in Draft and Seal, very useful, but this won't see any kind of standard play whatsoever either. Moving on here, we have Sift, a 4-mana sorcery. Draw 3 cards, then discard a card. This is a great card for Draft and Sealed. Has always been a great card for that particular format. I think this card is going to be a high pick for you if you get into this. If you see like Anticipate and you see Sift, you might want to grab Sift over Anticipate, just because of the ability to draw 3, just discard 1. Super good card out of that situation. This isn't going to see any kind of standard play, but it will see a lot of Draft and Sealed play. Skilled Animator here, 3-mana 1/3 Human Artificer. When Skilled Animator enters the battlefield, target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 5/5 for as long as Skilled Animator remains on the battlefield. Why not just reprint Insel Artifact? I mean, that's what you want to do, right? I mean, Darksteel Citadel with Insel Artifact was in like the core set or Origins core set a while ago, a couple years ago. That was amazing. This is kind of like echoing that idea, but on a body here. Interesting ability. I like this card a lot if you get into a lot of artifacts in Draft and Seal. But again, if you don't, it's just a 3-mana 1/3, which is kind of bad. And if opponent has a lot of kill artifact stuff in Draft and Seal, then this card is just terrible. I'm not going to see any kind of like standard play. I don't think it might though, because making a 5/5 for a turn isn't bad, or for as long as it remains on the field. So isn't bad because it does remain on the field for a while. So I'm not sure. We'll kind of see what happens as far as testing goes, but I think this card is just going to be decent for Draft and Sealed and probably not see any kind of standard play. I think it might see some play though in a Brawl deck though, so look forward to that. Moving on here, we have Sleep, 4-mana sorcery. Tap all creatures target player controls. Those creatures don't untap during that player's next untap step. This is a marquee kill card here for opponents, for your opponent. Against your opponent, there we go. A great card for us to use against an opponent whenever we are about to win the game. Tap down their creatures, attack in, and then we have lethal the next turn. Their creatures don't untap. They have to either play a creature off the top or in their hand in order to block and survive for the turn. If they don't, then they automatically lose. That's usually a way of how this card goes. Super good card. Always a great pick for us in a way to just shut down an opponent for an entire turn if we know that we're ahead. Great card in Draft and Seal. Not going to see any kind of standard play though. Moving up here, we have Snapping Drake, a 4-mana 3/2 flyer. Simple, straightforward. Love the art on this one. Would take it all day long. A 4-mana 3/2 flyer is always good in blue, and always a high pick for me in Draft and Sealed. Not going to see any kind of standard play whatsoever though. Moving up, we have Supreme Phantom, a 2-mana 1/3 spirit flying. Other spirits you control will get +1/+1. Why? I know there aren't any spirits right now in any of or not really in any of the sets that are currently out. There's a couple, like a handful, and then there's a handful in the core set here. But as far as spirits being a thing in standard, they're just not at all. This is really great for modern and for commander if you want to build a spirits deck there. But besides that, this card is just kind of it exists. And I guess we just have to deal with it. Hopefully there's spirits coming in with Ravnica after this. I really hope so, because this card just kind of does nothing if not. I mean, you could always do the thing where it changes all the types. The blue card there that changes all the types. You could do that, I guess. But besides that, this card, don't pick it in Draft and Sealed because there's no spirits really to go off of for this. And in Standard, don't play it yet. Just hold on to it, I guess, until they release more spirits in Ravnica, hopefully. But if you're in a Modern and you're into Commander, this card is fine for that. A good card to put into another spirits list. Moving on here for us, we have Surge Mare, a 2 blue 0/5 horsefish. Why not just a seahorse? Why not? Why not just go seahorse instead of horsefish? I don't... Okay. Search Mare can be blocked by green creatures, and whenever it deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. You can pay 2, and it gets +2/+2 until, or +2/-2 until end of turn. So it can actually become a 4/1 for the turn, which is interesting. And it can be blocked by green creatures. There we go. Sorry about that stutter. Can be blocked by green creatures, so interesting there. You know, draw a card, discard a card. A lot of good stuff going on here for 2 blue. Very interesting. Wish it was just a seahorse. I don't understand why it's not a seahorse. Horsefish is fine though if you want to go into a crested sunmare list for some reason. Do horse tribal. This card's okay. This card is definitely going to be heavily into blue if you pull this. It's an uncommon, so you're not going to see it that often. So it is a card that's going to give you a lot of card advantage though if you're up against a green deck against an opponent. So not going to see any kind of standard play against like unless there's like a weird table brew for this card. But for draft and seal, this card is just okay. Double blue makes it very difficult to not put into just a solid blue list somewhere. Moving on here for us, we have Switcheroo, a 5-mana sorcery, exchange control of 2 target creatures. Really like this card a lot. In draft and sealed, very fun, very kitchen table friendly. And in standard, not going to see any kind of play. In brawl, maybe we'll see some play. Commander is always fun for this card as well. It's just a very flavorful, like kitchen table fun card that you're always going to enjoy happening. Like whenever they have a giant bomb, you have it like a 1/1 or 2/2. You swap places. Oh no, you win the game. That's kind of how this card works for 5 mana. So like this card a lot for draft and sealed for sure. Moving up here, we have Deseret, Artifice Master, a 5 mana 5 loyalty. Legendary Planeswalker Deseret. Here's our mythic here for blue. +1, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. It's 0 heroes, draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, draw 2 cards instead. That's a very good ability here. -9, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your instep, search your library for a permanent card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So it could have just been an artifact, but permanent is amazing. Could be a land if you're low on lands. Could be just a giant bomb. Turn over turn forever if you get into that emblem. I like this a lot. I think Deseret is super good here. Right now, before rotation happens, Deseret is a bomb. Just going like Karn into Deseret is ridiculous, drawing so many cards. And yeah, I think this card is stupid good. I think this card is a card that will be kind of scary for a little bit until rotation happens. But once rotation happens, I feel like it's probably going to calm down to a fair amount. If you get into this in draft and sealed, lucky you. I would definitely pull into it because it is the mythic Planeswalker for blue here. Very good in that situation because it does make a blocker for itself, which is very, very good. Very seldom do the Planeswalkers make blockers for themselves, and a good kind of indicator of a good Planeswalker makes a blocker for itself. That's always good to know. And drawing cards for itself as well is also good too for 0. So 5, it comes in with a 5 loyalty, get a 0 ability. So if it doesn't get lightning struck or something like that, it still survives, and you still draw a card or 2 cards if you control 3 more artifacts. So I like this card a ton. This will see probably a lot of build around standard decks for sure too. So just an overall amazing card for us as a Deseret for standard right now. And yeah, this could also be a really good brawl commander for you too. So going from one card that's amazing to another card that is not that great is Tellurian Scholar, a 3 mana 2/3 vanilla. That's all right. I wish this card looked more like the Professor from Tellurian Academy, but it's okay. It's okay. I mean, I wish it did, but it doesn't. So kind of sad. This card's okay. It's a good like 3 drop for you in draft and sealed, but not going to see any kind of play other than that. Moving on here, we have Totally Lost. This is back. 5 mana instant. Put target non-land permanent on top of its owner's library, effectively time walking them because it puts it on the top of their deck, so they have to redraw it for the turn. Very good for that. Totally Lost is a great card for you for draft and sealed. Not going to see any kind of standard play though, so don't worry about that. Either way, it's just a kind of meme card because of is it Fibblethip? Is that how you pronounce it? Fibblethip? Oh, whatever. I don't know. Always hated crowds. That's how this card works. Moving on here, we have Uncomfortable Chill, a 3 mana instant. Creatures your opponent's control gets -2, -0 until end of turn. Draw a card. So if your opponent swings out for like an alpha strike and you have enough blockers, you might be able to get some good trades as well as drawing a card for just 3 mana. Very, very good combat trick for blue. And if you're up against a tempo-based deck, this is a very good card in draft and sealed. Not going to see any kind of standard play whatsoever either though. A good card though for us for the mill deck we might actually get in there is a 2 mana 0/5 Wall of Mist. It's a wall defender, and of course this creature can attack because it's a defender. Very good card overall. I will definitely be trying to put this into a standard like fog mill style deck, maybe. But besides that though, it's just a good wall in draft and sealed. Moving up here for us, we have the last card in blue. This is Wind Reader Sphinx, a 7 mana 3/7 Sphinx flyer. Whenever a creature with flying attacks, you may draw a card. So if you get into this in Draft and Sealed as your rare, congratulations, this card is great. Got a great butt on it. This is a 7 toughness here. And if you have a lot of flyers, you've been onto a flyer list in Draft and Sealed, this card just draws you cards forever. I'm not sure this will see any kind of play for standard, just a little too expensive for that. It might see some play in a brawl deck or a commander deck for sure, because, you know, being expensive in those formats isn't that as back-breaking, but in standard, too slow. In Draft and Sealed, though, it's an amazing card and a great bomb for that format. But that is it for all the blue cards in Core Set 2019. I think the next one is maybe red or black. I think it's black as far as the next color I get into. But yeah, really excited about the set so far. Really liking blue as a control deck so far. A lot of good answers for the control list in Draft and Sealed. A lot of good stuff for us in Standard with Deseret there. A lot of good stuff like that. Just really excited to see what happens in the next part of the actual set review. And yeah, just hope you guys like the videos. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And leave a comment below on what you think is like the best blue card right now. For me, it's probably Deseret at the Mythic slot, but we also have Psy in the rare slot that makes Artifact 1/1 Thopters when you just cast an artifact. That card is super good, and I feel like some people are undervaluing it in a Aetherflux Reservoir style deck list. So, but that's gonna do it for this video here, guys. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.